Hello, Klaus. I'm giving you feedback here on your task number 2 about coin and air power. Generally speaking, in terms of your written English, there's a lot of good things going on here. You write correct and fluent English. You have good vocabulary, so you can convey the meaning that you want to. So there's nothing structurally or systematically wrong with the way that you write. So that's really good. In terms of this feedback is going to be about the structural organization, about the paragraphs, and a little bit about sort of very local level, about tiny kind of details in the text that I want you to be aware of. But in terms of the structure, you have an introduction to the text, which I have to say is quite rare for all of the tasks that I've read so far. It does give me the impression that you are addressing a particular reader, because you refer to soldiers, you tell them to wise up. So it does give the impression in the beginning that you want to direct your argument at a particular group. However, when you then proceed through the text, it seems that that's not quite what you're doing. So, and really it's just that very beginning, those first 4 words or 3 words that sort of send you off going, okay, he's chosen to address an argument at a specific group. So just consider that how you introduce your text, because it does make a difference. It takes you a while to realize that's not what's going on. It makes you seem a little sort of not... Well, it kind of damages your credibility, actually. So the intro is a bit off. However, I do like that you introduce the text and you introduce 2 main arguments about education and the tools available in coin operations. That is really good. I also like, in terms of the organization, that you don't fall into that very obvious trap of first completing task 1 and then completing task 2. As I see it, what you're attempting to do is to tie those 2 things together. So that's very commendable. You need to be a little bit more precise. This seems like it needs more development. It's also quite short, I think, compared to what I've seen the others do. So you need to develop your argument more. So just hit those points that you want to make about education and tools a bit harder. Develop it a little bit more. And also when you talk about the theorists, you need to give me more on like Warden's 5 rings. Just elaborate. You need to define decapitation, for instance. What is it that these 3 theorists are talking about? How can we apply it, or how is it irrelevant to the point that you're trying to make? So I like your idea. I like your structure. It's just not quite there yet. You need more, basically. So you're on the right lines, and I, as I say, commend you for going outside the obvious, what you might have chosen to do with this task. So that's a very positive point. You need to develop this further, however. In terms of the very sort of small detail things, there are 2 things, and they are really in the sort of detail nitpicking category here. I don't like exclamation marks. I think you know that by now, or at least I think I've said that a couple of times in class. The problem with them, be it in a PowerPoint presentation or in this type of text, is that if you're shouting at the reader, it's because you cannot word your opinion clearly enough for the reader to understand what you're saying. This is a very academic point, but that's kind of what I do. I teach academic writing, I teach professional writing. If you resort to exclamation marks and kind of shouting at your reader, it means that what you are saying or how you're saying it isn't strong enough. So avoid it, because it does take away from your credibility. It makes you seem like you're trying too hard, and there's no point in doing that. So think about the phrasing of your introduction. See if you can do it. See if you can be emphatic and strong in your language without using the exclamation mark. That would be a good challenge for you, because that's the sort of thing you need to tweak a little bit in the first place, in terms of your precision, and be a little bit more, elaborate a little bit more on your points so that they become more clear. The other kind of very tiny thing is that there's one place when you refer to the NATO. The rules for abbreviation is if we pronounce the abbreviation as a word, NATO, not NATO, we don't use the in front of. However, if we pronounce it, or if we say the letters like the UN, not the but the UN, we use a the in front of. So that's a tiny little remark on usage. So just to recap, I like your idea for organization. It needs to be developed more. You need to be more precise in terms of key concept and theory. And then you need to be a little bit more precise in terms of the points you're trying to make. Hit them harder, as I say. And what I mean by that is basically draw me a picture that I cannot misunderstand. Okay? I hope this makes sense. If not, please grab a hold of me on Friday or drop me an email if you want in the meantime. Okay? But I'll see you on Friday. Bye.